So, the engine is out. Oh God, and boy have we got our work to do. So hit the subscribe button, and let's get into the video. So, I have to be honest, there was no intent of taking this engine out because it doesn't need a rebuild, it's got good compression and it's running great, so it was a bit of a counterintuitive, hard decision to take this engine out. As I wanted the engine to look like new, it made most sense to take it out so I could get it properly sprayed in the booth. Plus, there is one other good thing, it makes doing all the ancillary bits like rebuilding the carb, changing all the lines, and engine mounts that much easier. Plus, it gave me the opportunity to get underneath the engine. As you can see, I did a good job, it's quite comical, it's like clean all the way up to the perimeter where the engine would have been, so I was able to get underneath and give that a good clean. So I went ahead with the gunk degreaser and cleaned the engine bay right up. So after hours of cleaning, as you can see, it came up really nice. So as for the exhaust manifold and the matching water box, voila, they weren't actually in that bad shape, but when we were taking it all apart, we noticed that on, which is a common thing by the way, there was a little pinhole.
And the same on this side, look, it's actually going in. That's actually going to need welding.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen there, that'll pinhole.
On the actual manifold itself. Now that's obviously got spot welded, which means it's destroyed the aesthetic, and you know me with aesthetics, it's got to be bang on. So this is actually going to be powder coated in a colour match. Don't worry, OEM purple. I'm not changing the colour, which like some people do. This is the OEM channel, as we know. So that's going to go to the matching closest powder coated colour match. Then we have this, not this floral sheet. It's just filthy and a little bit rusted, to be fair. We've got the engine base plate. Now this from the factory, if we're getting really nerdy, is obviously black OEM. However, I've seen online, and this is where I'm diverting a little bit from the script, some people have powder coated these in the matching OEM purple. Now that for me, if you're looking down into the engine bay, it's just gonna look awesome. And it is strictly OEM purple, so I think it's a good sort of okay pass for me, I think. Now this is obviously gonna get shot blasted, so I don't have to prep this, thank God. Now naturally, these do tend to rust quite a bit, just because that's where all the water will obviously go to the bottom of the engine bay and end up sitting in the tray, and it's very, very hard to get in there. I like to actually wash out underneath the engine, but I'll let the previous owner off because there is still quite a lot of intact powder coat. So we're going to take that along with all of these, get them all beautifully purple, and then that is another job done. So next up, we've got the bit that's probably going to take a good couple of hours. For you guys, it will be a snappy B-roll section. But in essence, I need to get this clean before we can get onto the exciting bit, the transformational bit, where it gets sprayed. Now for this, I've got some heads that you can put in the drill to get off all of the dirt and grime. A bit more aggressive wire brush. We've obviously got the good old sanding papers through to wet and dry. So obviously I'll work my way to get it nice and smooth. I've got the good old Dremel. This thing is amazing for just getting into all the little tight gaps. You know, some of this stuff you just wouldn't be able to do by hand. I've gone to a local shop here in the UK. If you're in America, you won't know what this is, but it's a DIY store. If you're in America, Megan hates it. It's called Proper Job. They've got all these little heads, such good value. So I've got some of those to use. Probably won't even end up using them, but they look good. They look relevant for the job. So I got some of those. And before I get fancy and start sanding everything, do the discipline bit, guys. Tape up any openings and holes. I know it's a bit boring, but honestly, you don't want any dust or dirt going anywhere. It's going to be specifically relevant when you're spraying, but a lot of people forget when they're actually prepping. So tape up the holes before you get excited and handy with a wire brush. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put some music on, and I'm going to start cleaning this engine. Hopefully it'll take 20 minutes and we're done. Unlikely.
Just me, or is that flicking everywhere?
So it's 24 hours on. This took a long time to clean. All the little intricacies are very tricky to get to. I took my time, and in essence, what I was trying to do is just get rid of all of the dead paint. It wasn't a case of wanting to get rid of all of the white, because some of this is really strong, so I've literally been there for hours. Now, a lot of you guys will probably say in the comments, Joe, why don't you get shot blasted? If I was having this engine rebuilt and disassembled, then obviously it would all be shot blasted and you get it back to bare metal. But in this scenario, I just wanted to make sure that there was none of the paint that was going to be peeling once the new fresh paint goes on, and I obviously had to give it a key. So that's going to be going off to the spray shop today. That's the first stop today. Then we're going to the powder coaters. It's going to be a long day. Then I'm going to try and spray the black parts. If I manage to get all this done, it'll be a miracle. So let's get it all loaded up into the car, in some boxes so it's all nice and organised. There's quite a lot of parts. Don't want to get them all mixed up. So let's do it. That's obviously the carb side, but you can literally just spray straight over all the stuff. Put like the head over it. Yeah. The bits that are dead, bang, they go. Off, and the other bits you hold it there and it'll move. So they go straight away, it's strong. That's good. How long did it take you to do it? Perfect. 3 hours, 3.5 hours. It takes time to do it. So when it comes to selecting the paint colour, it was quite a tricky one, but I chose to go for like a nice optic white. I went for a Ford frozen white in the end versus that more beigey colour which you see, which is actually to do with the heat cycles of the engines. So I wanted to start with a nice bright white, and then obviously over time, if it did this colour, I was in a better starting position. Now for ancillary parts like the rear nozzle, the ride plate, the carb cover, I actually tackled these myself because there really wasn't that bad paint peel. I was able to sand it back with a little bit of light sanding. Now I absolutely love sandblasting and powder coating, but in these instances it just feels excessive. That coupled with the fact that I wanted a formula that in the future, if the nozzle got chipped, I actually had a fallback option which was actually practical to do at home versus taking it to the powder coater every time. And there are lots of products out there on the market that are really good for salt resistant, things like flatbed under chassis paint. Really effective in these scenarios. So this really is a job you can do at home and save a few pounds off of the actual sandblasting and powder coating process. Okay, so with the black parts, before everyone puts in the comments, Joe, why don't you get these sprayed in spray booth as well? Well, the reality is these parts sit in the salt pretty much all the time. Now, the paint that was used on the engine, whilst it's great for the engine, wouldn't be suitable for that submersion in actual salt water, so I opted for what was called a roll bar and chassis paint. It's a really durable, hard-wearing paint. I've seen great reviews for it online. It comes in a semi-gloss, which is actually kind of the colour of what all the pump assembly parts will be from OEM, not gloss, which is sometimes the mistake people make. So I manually sprayed these myself. Now my mum of all people actually made this suggestion of getting a changing pop-up tent which you can stand in, hang the parts through the middle because it's got a top hatch, and it was the perfect pop-up spray booth. So if you guys need to spray some parts and you want an easy hack to not have to take it to the spray shop, this worked really effectively, and I must say the product that I used, I'll put the details below, was really effective and I was really happy with the results. a 1995 jet ski.
Lovely.
But this is the original colour.
Yeah.
Be good. Wow, wow, wow. It looks so fresh, doesn't it?
Like new.